Hello, good afternoon. I'm here at Embedded World 2024 and I'm pleased today to be joined by Andy Ross, who is the Senior Product Manager at Ezurio. So thank you very much for joining us, Andy. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
So we're going to be talking a little bit about Wi-Fi 6 and 6E plus some of your featured products. But to start with, why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself and your background?
Yeah, sure. I was born Newcastle in England. I've lived in the US now for over 30 years. Been doing Wi-Fi since 1998, so it's a long time. I moved to what was Laird, and now is a company called Ezurio about 3 years ago. I'm responsible for their entire Wi-Fi Bluetooth product line, specifically the latest one, which is the Wi-Fi 6 Sonar line that we introduced.
Fantastic. So you've mentioned it already, Ezurio, formerly Laird Connectivity. Tell us a little bit about the rebranding and what that means.
Yeah, sure. It's a very important stage for the development of our company. Laird, as both Laird and Laird's technology and Laird Connectivity, has been around for a long time, 20, 30 years, and has a reputation for connectivity, for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. But in the last 2-3 years, we've changed a lot. We've added new wireless technologies. We've gone into IoT sensors and gateways.
Yeah.
And recently, just over a year or so ago, we bought a company called Boundary Devices who make SOMs. And it was thought that it's about time now, we know what the companies start to look about, that we don't want people to say, Laird Connectivity also does SOMs. We want people to say, who's ezurio? Oh, Ezurio is the guy that does connectivity and SOMs and IoT and antennas and things.
Okay. So has the mission statement changed at all?
No, we are the same company. It's like a new coat of paint. Yeah, new name on the door and a coat of paint, and really that's all it is.
Fantastic.
Same stuff. I think we have a new tagline that's same experts. New name, same experts.
Yeah. Well, thank you for introducing us to the new name. So let's deep dive into Wi-Fi 6 and 6E a little bit.
Yeah.
So to start with, Wi-Fi 6 and 6E offers significant improvements compared to its predecessor. So can you walk us through those?
Yeah, I mean, the list is a very long list at a technical level.
Have that long.
Yeah, I was going to say. But there are some specific ones that, certainly in the embedded space, provide significant advantages that overcome shortfalls of the earlier versions of Wi-Fi. And so when we look at those, the prime one, the core one, is the addition of a new modulation scheme called OFDMA. Complex and lots of cool things. We have lots of documentation on it. So rather than explaining it here, I think the best idea is go down and have a look at something. But it's fundamental to a lot of the benefits of new stuff. They've also added a new power save feature called target wake time, which allows Wi-Fi to turn on and turn off for extended periods of time, where before you really had to keep it on all the time. And you had to be really careful about maintaining your connection. They have another one called BSS coloring, which allows some isolation of networks, which helps in some performance. And those at high level come together to create all sorts of benefits. And I think we'll probably talk about some of those benefits in a minute.
Yeah.
Underneath it, there's some actually very cool technology improvements. One, which is a thing called dual carrier modulation, where although you have a single Wi-Fi connection to an access point, you're actually able to send the data in two different places inside that channel, which means that if one of them gets blocked, the other one gets through. Helps reliability, which is critical in embedded spaces.
Yeah, definitely.
And some other stuff to help range and stuff. Although it's been brought in so you can see a Netflix at higher resolutions, there's so many of these things directly apply to the shortcomings of Wi-Fi for embedded.
Yeah, definitely. So what is the key differences between Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E? And why are these distinctions important for the industry and the users?
So it's still a non-deterministic network technology. So that means you can't absolutely guarantee this piece of data will arrive at this particular time. But some of the features that I talked about earlier, the OFDMA, the target wake time, and also the higher bandwidth, means that a lot of the obstacles that would delay data going through a network, if not completely removed, have been significantly shrunk.
Yep.
And the leading data that we've got around performance has seen a case where it's possible to start considering Wi-Fi 6 in low latency applications. Maybe not critical ones like, a huge big piece of machinery needs to stop in 1 second.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to guarantee that it does. But in terms of low latency and maybe delays of display between one location and another, or even non-critical applications, remote sort of steering of vehicles and things like that, there's enough improvement and enough guard band in the technologies to say it's not going to completely fail quickly.
Yeah.
You've got enough room there to say, okay, I'm getting good performance and I'll continue to get good performance generally in the application.
Mm-hmm. And what about range?
Interesting enough, Wi-Fi 6 gets you better range. It's just Wi-Fi, physics are physics, right? Yeah. It's like, but one of the challenges with adding 6 gigahertz to Wi-Fi is the higher frequency you go, the net effect is that you reduce the total range of the RF transmission. It's a square law.
Yeah.
And so there's potential that we move it up into 6 gigahertz, but you have to be 15 feet away from the parts. It makes it impractical.
Yeah.
So they spent a lot of time looking at how can we get the 6 gigahertz part to maybe perform as well as the 5 gigahertz part.
Yeah.
And so they put in some technologies, some guard band things that allow the Wi-Fi to say, okay, I'll give a little bit up here, but I'll get a range. The end result is 6 gigahertz. It's about the same as 5 gigahertz is now.
Okay.
But the improvements that they put in it make 2.4 and 5 gigahertz actually better. So you get a 20 to 30% range improvement. And if you've put together all of the benefits that are potential, you can see as much as 3 or 4 dB increase in the link margin, which could take range out as maybe doubling the range or 1.5 times the range.
Okay.
And one of our partners, Infineon, has gone further than that, and they've said, we know this is important, and they've actually improved the overall performance of the radio itself, put in some really cool DSP technology to recover data from signals, so that you can get this kind of range boost just because it's a good radio. It's probably what they should have done a long time ago, but they've actually put it into the Wi-Fi 6. So it's as good, if not better, across the full spectrum than you get with Wi-Fi 4 and 5.
So with the additional spectrum then enhancing the wireless communication, what challenges does it present in terms of device compatibility and regulatory approval?
Compatibility in the 2.4 and 5, all of the devices that we're involved with, and I think generally in the market, devices that are classified as Wi-Fi 6 will operate in the legacy networks. Ideally, you would like those networks to upgrade to Wi-Fi 6 and then get the full benefits of Wi-Fi 6. So there's some options that either the Wi-Fi 6 parts will operate on a Wi-Fi 4, Wi-Fi 5 network fine, or the Wi-Fi 6 networks that are put in place are able to take Wi-Fi 4 and Wi-Fi 5 parts. So compatibility in terms of existing networks really isn't going to be a problem.
Okay.
Other than because they're legacy parts and don't have the benefits of Wi-Fi 6, the more crowded the network is with the older parts means there's less opportunity to get goodness out of the Wi-Fi 6. It's like you've got this much, and if that much of it is already taken up with 4 and 5, you've only got that much to play with to make it good. So it could be challenging in certain circumstances. When you get to the 6 gigahertz greenfield, you get 100% benefit. There's no Wi-Fi 4 and Wi-Fi parts up there, so you don't have to concern about compatibility. As far as regulatory goes, Wi-Fi 6 is a complex beast. The benefits that you get out of it aren't easy benefits. They are put in place to solve complex problems. the end result is that it takes a lot longer to test Wi-Fi 6 for compliance than Wi-Fi 5 and Wi-Fi 4. And so depending on the complexity of the device, and it is the one of the good things on Wi-Fi 6 is it's not a one device fits all. I mean, we'll talk about it in a bit. Is that depending on the complexity of the device, you can have or maybe 1.5 times the number of tests, all the way up to 2 or 3 times the number of tests, where on average for a complex high performance Wi-Fi 6E part, you're more than doubling your certification costs.
Okay.
And having certification timelines that could range even longer than that, because the labs and equipment for doing the testing is not so common. You have to find the right guy, and because of that, everybody's going to the same guy, and as a result, there's a queue.
So. And I imagine those costs are quite high as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So. Okay.
Very high. But that's why module vendors come into their own. So we act as aggregators, but we take on the burden of the development of the module, but we also take on the burden of the certification of the module.
Okay.
Right. So when a customer comes to us to buy a Wi-Fi 6E module, he gets the hardware, but he also gets software, and he gets certification for, depending on the module, a group of the most popular countries around the world. So North America and Europe and Japan, parts of Asia, down into Australasia and stuff like that.
Okay, fantastic. What about security then? We know security is paramount in wireless networking. So what advancements does Wi-Fi 6 offer in terms of security?
So Wi-Fi 6 baseline is WPA3. Okay. There's no, although they will support WPA2 and down to WPA, they start at WPA3. And what we do actually, ezurio, is take your home security, they put in your password and off you go. We add enterprise security to that WPA level of encryption and authentication. And so that we've got a range of what are called EAP types and a supplicant in our solution that allows this latest level of wireless security to be used in things like hospitals and large corporate organizations, large business facilities where you have to make sure that people can't get into them because the business disruption could be significant.
Yeah, definitely. And the adoption of Wi-Fi 6 and 6E is expected to accelerate the growth of the Internet of Things market.
Yes.
So walk us through how Wi-Fi 6 specifically benefits the IoT market then.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting one, because when you think Wi-Fi, you think each generation is making things go faster. And that's how the marketing goes. You can do that, but in reality, from Wi-Fi 5 to Wi-Fi 6, they put in some technology that specifically addresses problems that existed for IoT in Wi-Fi 5. And the biggest problem is power consumption.
Okay.
Right? You want something to run on a battery. You want to be something that's a small form factor. And so they enhanced the power saving modes with a mode called TWT, or target wake time. This was actually developed as part of another Wi-Fi technology called Wi-Fi Halo. Mm-hmm. And they said, that's a good technology, we're going to move it into the Wi-Fi mainstream stuff. And what this technology allows you to do is a client with the network can negotiate when it should come onto the network. Because a lot of the embedded applications, you maybe only need to do things in the morning or maybe at night. I've collected data today, here's my data download.
Yes.
If you're required to stay on the whole day, you have to design a system that will allow power to be used all day. With target wake time, you're able to negotiate between the client and the network. Say, look, I want to wake up at this time and go to sleep until this time and then go to sleep. You used to do that to some level, but we're talking in the old days of maybe seconds.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about hours and maybe days and even longer periods of time with that, depending on the implementation of the TWT, which means now you can make a very small form factor device that remains connected, although it's not on. That's an important part of it, because actually the authentication process takes power, because you have to talk. If you remain connected, you don't have to draw that power with re-authentication. It means that these things can authenticate, send a little bit of data, go to sleep, stay asleep for 12 hours, send a little piece of it, and it extends the life by months, maybe years even, which gives the equipment designers a really good set of options. They can choose, do I want to say my part works for 6 years or 5 years or 10 years, or do I want to make it smaller with a smaller battery and say, it works six months, but it's a quarter of the size that it used to be. So that one specific technology gives them that option. And there is actually power save modes in the use of the interaction with the network itself, which are less impactful but subtly important when considering that power isn't necessarily worried about instantaneous, it's a longer time, which means you can have Wi-Fi sensors anywhere you want.
Yeah.
You can have little wearables that they're even smaller than your watch.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Yeah. And what about for sort of the medical industry then? How does it particularly benefit that?
Well, we talked about security.
Yeah.
That's critical to those guys. In the medical world, it's they have a lot of different things that they require.
Yes.
And there are certain circumstances that they were always challenged with. And one example, for instance, is an emergency room. Mm-hmm. They love things not being wired because they don't have to run cables to pieces of equipment. They just want it to be there and go away. And, in a normal, let's say, bay of an emergency room, you may have 6 to 15 pieces of equipment, which maybe 10 years ago, 3 of them were wireless. These days, almost all of them will be wireless.
Yeah.
That's great, no problem. But when you have an emergency, there's been an accident, somebody has severe trauma, I've been told that the component count, the pieces of equipment count in a bay can go as high as 60 or 70 devices. And so you're 4 or 5 times the devices. Yeah. Then multiplied by 5 or 6 bays in the thing, you can go from having maybe less than 100 devices in a place to having 300-400 devices. And Wi-Fi 6, because of the OFDMA, because of TWT, because of BSS coloring, and I can't, it'd take too long to explain why, but because of those things, is able to stretch and guarantee connectivity in those kinds of situations. I mean, that's a very extreme situation. Yeah. But Wi-Fi 6 has solved that problem for hospitals. The only other way they could do it is by putting lots and lots of access points in. Mm. And actually that's counterproductive, because then you have too many signals on the access points going around. And so it was always a struggle for them, but Wi-Fi 6 opens the whole thing up. And then, the power save thing's a big thing, because medical stuff is all about it. So, it has a broad range of applications. It gives the medical guys the choice: do I make my infusion pump smaller? Do I make it bigger? Do I make it last for a week, or do I make it last for so? There's so many things in Wi-Fi 6 that give the OEM options to improve the overall health experience for the patient.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about the Sonar IF573. What are its key features?
Cool. Well, the IF573 was the first of our Sonar Wi-Fi 6 product line that was introduced. The product line, as of this show, we have now, we've shown a full product line now, and I'll touch on some of those later, but the IF573 was the first one introduced, and is really kind of the crowning jewel. This is a 2x2 Wi-Fi 6E part that supports high-speed PCIe bus. It supports SDIO. We've delivered it over the industrial temperature range. It's a small form factor standards-based package, M.2 standard, which means that there's compatibility with other guys who make M.2. In fact, I've, as part of my product management plan, have made sure that all of our products in the Wi-Fi 6 line are mechanically and pin compatible, so a customer can design in any of them and go backwards and forwards. So the 573 is absolutely the top of the line, over a gigabit of throughput on it. It's got great range performance, it's got good throughput performance, it's flexible, and it's backed up by the layered Wi-Fi Premium Advantage, which is a whole bunch of software and support and services.
Yes. Well, following on from that then, I'm intrigued to hear what you think makes ezurio a premium certified module partner.
There are lots of things, and that's the problem. So
not a problem.
It was strange. So we start, when we start talking about ezurio, what are we? What do we do? Yeah. We wanted to go and have a look at what differentiates us, and what we found was a much broader range of differentiators than we ever knew. People knew them individually or siloed, but we'd never as an organization pulled it together. And so what we've done is we've created this program that we call the Wi-Fi Premium Advantage. It's on our website because we think it's critical that customer knows the full range. And so it's why are we better at hardware? Why are we better at software? Why are we better at support? Why are we better at certification? Mm-hmm. And it's not just marketing. We've got real stuff in there. So we're saying, look, these are the things we test in detail, stuff that you look at and you go, I have no idea what that is, but it must mean something to somebody, right? We go into great detail about how we support versus the alternative approaches. And our message to the customer base is, we know your problems, we care about your problems, and we've put in a series of services, solutions, and products that we think addresses your problems better than any of the module suppliers. I mean, and I know everybody will claim that, but our Premium Advantage as a consolidated solution is an attempt to try and describe that to them. And I'd ask anybody, go down, spend 5 or 10 minutes looking at it, and you can get a much broader understanding of what a premium module supplier should be able to do. And then I would challenge the customer and say, well, go see if you can get the same response from the other guys. And we have, I during the program, we talked, what's our engineering, how many man years of experience do we have? And the VP of engineering came back and he said, well, it's over a decade of man hours. So this is, not like 1,000 man hours. The average engineer has almost, no, it wasn't. It was man hours. It was crazy. Was it days? Each one has some ridiculous number of experience. I'm forgetting it. It was a huge number. It wasn't a decade. It was a century. We've got it listed. It was a stupid number. Didn't believe. I asked him to go and check it again. And it's in the Premium Wi-Fi Advantage. We talk about this. This is where our experience comes from. We know what we're doing. Yeah. And we've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. And can we expect any sort of upcoming launches as you're looking to build out your Wi-Fi 6 portfolio?
Yes, as I mentioned, we've just kind of fleshed out the last piece. So in the last 6 months, we've released our 573, which is the 2x2. We've previewed a few parts. We've got a part that we're calling the IF513, which is based on an Infineon. It's a low-power part. We've announced an XP-based part called the NX611, which is a dual-band 2x2 part. 1x1 part. We have also introduced a MediaTek part, the MT320, which functions with their Genio processors. And this week we announced a TI-based module called the TI351, based on their new Simple Link Wi-Fi technologies. Mm-hmm. At that point there, we have low cost, optimized performance to the very high end. Everything that you need, and everything covered in between with the different variants. Yeah.
So looking ahead then, how do you see Wi-Fi 6 and 6E evolving? And I think the main question is, do we wait for Wi-Fi 7?
So I'll answer that one first, no.
Okay.
And not that there's anything wrong with Wi-Fi 7, but you have a couple of high-level factors. One, it's only just ready.
Yes.
About all that you can get right now would be a home router, right? And maybe some of the phones are starting to come out with Wi-Fi 7. But for the embedded space, the devices that you need for embedded space really don't exist. They won't exist at a chipset level, 18 to 36 months.
Okay.
All right, so you're going to have to wait in any case, even if you want it now. But I seriously challenge customers to look into what Wi-Fi 7 actually is, because it does some cool stuff, but you have to pay for those things. And two things you pay for with Wi-Fi 7. Yes, you get performance, but it's expensive because the die is bigger and it uses more power.
Yeah.
And so, two of the things, well, the power one on Wi-Fi 6, where you're losing an advantage that you already have on Wi-Fi 6.
Yeah.
And to tell you, Wi-Fi 6 is the thing that's brought the stuff that's useful to the market. And we're still having customers try to understand that. It's been around for a while. We're now introduced to the line. The technology's been around for a while, but it's only now that customers are going beyond kind of that first marketing question.
Yeah.
Hey, do you do Wi-Fi 6 to, well, what does Wi-Fi 6 actually do? So I can work out how I can use it. So I think we've got 3 to 5 years easily of Wi-Fi 6 before Wi-Fi 7 is really even a valid contender, and there's questions about whether or not we're able to get a useful solution.
Yeah, brilliant. Fantastic. Okay, so before we wrap up then, how does the partnership with DigiKey benefit your customers in your eyes?
You're key to our making sure that our customers can get access to our latest technology. In fact, any of our technology. We push all of our products through DigiKey. You're the first place the product lands. So you really are. It's like the first one we went out, and especially with the new products, because you guys get it in inventory, you get it in stock, and then we make sure that customers know that. And the good thing is we don't even have to tell them, really, because they know that's where it is.
Yeah.
And you guys are so good at making sure there are no delays. We've got new product, you have new product. There's no, we've got new product, you have new product. No wait, it just happens. And you keep in touch with us, you find out what we're doing. You're not just a place to put parts. You really are a partner in terms of our overall introduction and sales process. Absolutely phenomenal, and the team is a great team.
Fantastic.
And we do a lot of advertising, and we see results.
Good.
Which is
That's what I want to hear.
we have noticed, or I've noticed, that we looked at sales of our evaluation kits through DigiKey last quarter, and it's the best it's been in a long time.
Fantastic.
And that's you guys feeding our pipeline, so we're going to be successful based on those opportunities later in the next couple of years.
I'm glad to hear it. Thank
Fundamental
you for sharing
to
that.
our success.
Yeah, and thank you very much for your insights as well. We've done a bit of a deep dive, which was what I was after, so thank you very much.
So, thank you, Paige. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
It's been fun talking to you.
Thank you.